The sleek interstellar vessel, Starseeker, glided silently through Earth's atmosphere, its iridescent hull shimmering against the azure sky. On board, a diverse group of alien students from the prestigious Cosmic Academy of Xenobiology buzzed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Their mission, to study firsthand why Earth was classified as a deathworld in the Galactic Encyclopedia of Planetary Classifications. Professor Zalara, a tall, willowy being with shimmering purple skin and 4 arms, stood at the helm. Her large, multifaceted eyes scanned the approaching landscape with a mix of scientific curiosity and caution. "Remember, students," she said, her voice resonating through the ship's communication system, "Earth's beauty is matched only by its dangers. Stay alert and follow protocols at all times." Among the students, Crix, a stocky, reptilian creature with scales that shifted colors with his mood, double-checked his equipment. His clawed hands moved deftly over the survival gear, ensuring everything was in order. Beside him, Lumi, a bioluminescent, jellyfish-like being floating in a personal gravity field, pulsed with excitement, her tendrils waving in anticipation. "I can't believe we're actually here," Lumi whispered, her voice a melodic hum. "Earth, the planet of 1,000 deaths." Crix snorted, his scales flickering a mix of green and blue. "Just don't forget it's also the planet of 1,000 ways to stay alive. That's what we're here to study." As the Starseeker touched down in a clearing within the Amazon rainforest, the students gathered near the exit hatch. Professor Zalara activated a holographic display, showing a 3D map of their surroundings. "Our base camp will be here," she indicated a spot near a river. "We'll conduct our studies in a 10-kilometer radius. Remember your training, stay in groups and report any unusual findings immediately." The hatch opened with a soft hiss, releasing a wave of humid, oxygen-rich air that made some of the students gasp. The cacophony of alien sounds, birds calling, insects buzzing, leaves rustling, was overwhelming. Crix's scales rippled with a mix of yellow, excitement, and red, wariness. Lumi floated out first, her bioluminescence dimming in the bright sunlight. "It's so green," she marveled, her tendrils reaching out to gently touch a nearby leaf. Professor Zalara stepped out, her 4 arms busy with various scanning devices. "Indeed, Lumi. Earth's biodiversity is unparalleled. It's one of the reasons it's so dangerous, and so fascinating." As the students filed out, each equipped with protective gear and data collection devices, a rustle in the nearby bushes made them freeze. A large, colorful bird burst from the foliage, its plumage a riot of reds and blues. It screeched as it flew overhead, causing several students to duck instinctively. "That, class, was a scarlet macaw," Professor Zalara explained, her voice calm but alert. "Harmless to beings our size, but a good reminder that on Earth, every creature has adapted to survive in this competitive environment." The group began to set up their base camp, erecting force field generators to create a safe perimeter. As they worked, Crix noticed movement at the edge of the clearing. His scales flickered to a deep purple of concern. "Professor," he called out, pointing, "I think we're being watched." All eyes turned to where Crix was pointing. There, partially hidden by the lush vegetation, stood a creature unlike any they had seen before. It was bipedal, with bare skin except for the top of its head, which was covered in dark filaments. It held a long, straight object in its hands. Professor Zalara's eyes widened in recognition. "Students," she said, her voice a mix of awe and caution, "that is a human. The dominant species of this world. The very reason Earth is classified as it is." The human, realizing it had been spotted, stepped forward. He was a man, weathered by the sun and the forest, dressed in clothes that seemed to blend with the surroundings. He held up his hands, showing that the object he held was some kind of tool, not a weapon. "Welcome to Earth," the man said in a language that their universal translators rendered perfectly. "I'm Ravi, a forest guide. I was sent to meet you." Professor Zalara stepped forward, her 4 hands performing a complex greeting gesture. Greetings, Ravi of Earth. I am Professor Zalara, and these are my students from the Cosmic Academy. We come to learn. Ravi nodded, a small smile on his face. And there is much to learn here. But first, a warning, the forest is beautiful, but it can be deadly to the unprepared. If you're willing, I can help you navigate its dangers. As the alien students looked at each other, a mix of excitement and apprehension on their faces, Professor Zalara turned to address them. Class, it seems our first lesson has already begun. Earth is not just a place of danger, but of unexpected allies. Let us learn from Ravi and discover why this planet has earned its fearsome reputation, and perhaps, why it's so much more than that. With that, the group gathered around Ravi, eager to begin their exploration of Earth, the Deathworld that was already challenging their preconceptions. Little did they know that their true tests were yet to come, as the planet prepared to reveal its wonders and terrors in equal measure. As the alien students settled into their temporary base camp, the true nature of Earth's challenges began to unfold. Professor Zalara gathered the group for a briefing, her multifaceted eyes scanning the eager faces before her. Today, we delve deeper into Earth's ecosystem, she announced. Our goal is to understand why this planet earned its fearsome reputation as a death world. The students, still buzzing from their encounter with Ravi, prepared their equipment with renewed enthusiasm. Crix double-checked his protective gear, his scales shifting to a determined blue. Lumi's bioluminescence pulsed with excitement as she calibrated her sensors. As they ventured into the dense undergrowth, the cacophony of jungle sounds enveloped them. Exotic birds called from the canopy, while unseen creatures rustled in the foliage. The air was thick with humidity, and strange scents wafted on the breeze. Suddenly, Lumi's tendrils stiffened. Professor, she hummed, I'm detecting unusual chemical signatures nearby. Professor Zalara approached, her antennas twitching with interest. Excellent observation, Lumi. Can you isolate the source? Lumi's bioluminescence flickered as she concentrated. It seems to be coming from that plant over there. The group cautiously approached a vibrant, trumpet-shaped flower. Its petals were a mesmerizing swirl of colors, almost hypnotic in their beauty. Fascinating, Professor Zalara murmured. This appears to be a new species. Crix, would you mind taking a sample? Crix nodded, his scales rippling with a mix of excitement and caution. As he reached out to collect a petal, the flower suddenly convulsed. In a flash, it spewed a cloud of glittering spores directly at the group. Shields up! Crix shouted, activating his personal force field just in time. The other students followed suit, their protective barriers shimmering into existence. Professor Zalara quickly scanned the spores. Remarkable, she said, her voice a mix of awe and concern. These spores contain a potent neurotoxin. If inhaled, they could cause paralysis within seconds. The students exchanged uneasy glances, the reality of Earth's dangers sinking in. What seemed beautiful could be deadly, and even the plants were potential predators. As they continued their exploration, the group encountered more of Earth's marvels and perils. They observed a colony of leafcutter ants, marveling at their complex social structure and agricultural prowess. However, their amazement turned to horror when they witnessed the ants swarm and devour a small mammal that had wandered too close to their territory. Nature's efficiency can be brutal, Professor Zalara commented, her voice somber. On Earth, every creature must fight for survival, often at the expense of others. The day wore on, filled with discoveries both wondrous and terrifying. They documented bioluminescent fungi that could induce hallucinations, carnivorous vines that could ensnare prey larger than themselves, and insects with venom potent enough to fell creatures 100 times their size. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the jungle, the group made their way back to the base camp. They were exhausted but exhilarated, their minds reeling from the day's experiences. Around the campfire that evening, the students shared their observations and theories. Lumi's tendrils waved excitedly as she described the intricate symbiotic relationships she'd observed between different species. Crix, his scales a thoughtful green, pondered the evolutionary arms race that had shaped Earth's flora and fauna. Professor Zalara listened intently, her 4 arms busy organizing the day's data. "Your insights are valuable," she said. "Earth's ecosystem is a complex web of interdependencies, where every adaptation can mean the difference between life and death." As night fell, the jungle came alive with a new symphony of sounds. Strange calls echoed through the darkness, and glowing eyes peered from the shadows. The students huddled closer to the fire, their alien senses heightened in the unfamiliar environment. "Remember," Professor Zalara cautioned, "on Earth, we are not at the top of the food chain. Stay alert, even in the safety of our camp." The night passed fitfully, with each student taking turns on watch. When dawn broke, they emerged from their tents, tired but eager to continue their research. As they prepared for another day of exploration, a distant rumble caught their attention. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, and the jungle fell eerily silent. "What was that?" Lumi asked, her bioluminescence dimming with apprehension. Professor Zalara's antennas twitched rapidly as she consulted her instruments. Her expression grew serious as she turned to address the group. "Students," she said, her voice grave, "it seems Earth has another challenge in store for us. We're about to witness one of this planet's most awe-inspiring and terrifying phenomena." The students exchanged nervous glances, wondering what new peril awaited them in the depths of Earth's untamed wilderness. Little did they know, their true test of survival was just beginning. The ground beneath their feet continued to tremble, growing more intense with each passing moment. Professor Zalara's expression was a mixture of concern and scientific curiosity as she consulted her instruments. "It's an earthquake," she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Earth's tectonic plates are shifting, releasing enormous amounts of energy." The alien students looked at each other, a mix of fear and fascination in their eyes. They had studied earthquakes in theory, but experiencing one firsthand was an entirely different matter. "Everyone, follow emergency protocols," Crix shouted, taking charge of the situation. "Move away from tall trees and find open ground." The group scrambled to follow his instructions, their hearts pounding as the earth heaved beneath them. The once familiar jungle had transformed into a chaotic landscape, with trees swaying dangerously and rocks tumbling down nearby slopes. As they huddled together in a small clearing, the full force of the earthquake hit. The ground rolled like ocean waves, making it nearly impossible to stand. Lumi's bioluminescence flickered erratically, reflecting her distress. "Stay calm," Professor Zalara called out, her multiple arms spread wide to maintain balance. "This is Earth showing us its raw power. Observe, but stay safe." For what seemed like an eternity, the world shook around them. When the tremors finally subsided, the forest fell eerily silent. The aftermath of the earthquake was evident everywhere they looked: fallen trees, newly formed crevices in the earth, and a thick cloud of dust hanging in the air. As they cautiously made their way back to their camp, the true extent of the earthquake's impact became clear. Their equipment was scattered, some of it damaged beyond repair. The landscape they had grown familiar with over the past days had been dramatically altered. "This," Professor Zalara said, gesturing to the changed environment, "is why Earth is classified as a death world. Its very foundations are unstable, capable of reshaping entire regions in a matter of minutes." The students nodded solemnly, the reality of Earth's volatile nature sinking in deeper than ever before. As they worked to salvage what they could from their camp, a new sound caught their attention, a low, distant roar that seemed to be growing louder. "What now?" Crix asked, his scales shifting to a wary orange. Professor Zalara's antennas twitched as she analyzed the sound. Her eyes widened in realization. Quickly, to higher ground, she shouted. "The earthquake has triggered a landslide." The group grabbed what essential equipment they could and raced up the nearest hill. From their vantage point, they watched in awe as a wall of mud, rocks, and uprooted trees cascaded down the slope they had just vacated. The earthquake destabilized the hillside, Professor Zalara explained, her voice filled with a mix of scientific fascination and respect for nature's power. This is another example of Earth's interconnected dangers. One event triggers another, creating a cascade of hazards. As the landslide roar faded, replaced by the eerie quiet of the devastated forest, the alien students realized they had just witnessed firsthand why Earth was considered one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. "But look," Lumi said, her tendrils pointing to a small sapling already pushing through the newly deposited soil. "Even in destruction, life finds a way to persist." Professor Zalara nodded approvingly. "An excellent observation, Lumi. Earth's resilience is as remarkable as its destructive power. This is the duality that makes this planet so fascinating, and so deadly." As they set up a new temporary camp on higher ground, the group reflected on their experiences. They had come to Earth expecting danger, but the reality had surpassed their wildest imaginations. Yet, amidst the chaos and destruction, they had also witnessed incredible beauty and resilience. "Tomorrow," Professor Zalara announced as they gathered around their makeshift camp, "we'll explore how Earth's inhabitants, both human and animal, have adapted to live in this constantly changing, often hostile environment. For now, rest and reflect on what you've learned today." As night fell, the alien students looked up at the star-filled sky, feeling a newfound respect for the small blue planet they were studying. Earth had shown them its fury, but in doing so, it had also revealed the incredible strength and adaptability of life itself. As dawn broke on their final day on Earth, the alien students gathered for Professor Zalara's briefing. The events of the previous day had left a profound impact on them all, and there was a new sense of reverence in their demeanor. "Today," Professor Zalara began, her multifaceted eyes scanning the group, "we focus on perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this Deathworld, its dominant species, humans." The students exchanged excited glances. They had encountered traces of human activity throughout their expedition, but today promised direct observation of these enigmatic beings. Guided by their scanning equipment, the group made their way through the recovering forest. The aftermath of the earthquake and landslide was still evident, but signs of life returning to normal were everywhere. As they crested a hill, they caught their first glimpse of a human settlement in the distance. It was a small village, nestled between the forest and a winding river. "Observe how they've positioned their dwellings," Professor Zalara pointed out. "Close enough to the forest and river for resources, but on elevated ground for protection against flooding." Crix nodded, his scales shifting to an impressed blue. "Tactical thinking. They've adapted to their environment." As they watched from a concealed position, the village came to life. Humans of various ages emerged from their homes, going about their daily routines with a sense of purpose and efficiency that surprised the alien observers. "Look at their tools," Lumi whispered, her bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. "So primitive compared to ours, yet they accomplish so much with them." They observed as the villagers tended to crops, repaired structures damaged by the recent earthquake, and worked together to clear debris from a nearby path. "Their cooperation is remarkable," Crix noted. "It's as if the entire village functions as a single organism." Professor Zalara nodded approvingly. "Humans have learned that unity is key to survival on this challenging world. Their ability to form complex social structures and work together has been crucial to their success." As the day progressed, the alien students witnessed numerous examples of human ingenuity and resilience. They saw villagers using simple machines to lift heavy loads, employing natural materials in creative ways to solve problems, and sharing knowledge across generations. "Their adaptability is extraordinary," Lumi commented. "They seem to thrive on overcoming challenges." Suddenly, a commotion in the village caught their attention. A group of humans was rushing towards the forest, carrying what appeared to be medical supplies. "Someone must be injured," Professor Zalara deduced. "Let's observe how they handle crisis situations." The alien group cautiously followed the humans, maintaining a safe distance. They watched as the villagers worked together to rescue an injured logger trapped under a fallen tree. The efficiency and calm determination with which they handled the emergency was impressive. "Did you see that?" Crix exclaimed. "They used leverage principles to move that massive tree. And their medical techniques, while primitive, are surprisingly effective." As they continued their observation, the true nature of humanity's relationship with Earth began to emerge. The villagers respected the forest, taking only what they needed and replanting areas they had harvested. They had early warning systems for natural disasters and well-practiced emergency protocols. "They don't just survive here," Lumi realized, her voice filled with awe. "They've learned to coexist with this deadly world." As the sun began to set on their final day, Professor Zalara gathered the students for a concluding discussion. "What have you learned about Earth and its dominant species?" she asked. The responses came quickly. "Humans are incredibly adaptable," Crix said. "They use their intelligence to overcome physical limitations. They have a deep understanding of their environment," Lumi added. "They don't fight against nature, but work with it. Their social structures and cooperation give them strength," another student chimed in. "They face challenges as a united force." Professor Zalara nodded, pleased with their insights. "All excellent observations. Now, the final question, why is Earth classified as a death world?" The students were silent for a moment, contemplating. Finally, Crix spoke up. "It's not just because of the dangers," he said slowly. "It's because surviving here requires constant adaptation, innovation, and cooperation. Earth doesn't just challenge life, it forces it to evolve and improve continuously." "Precisely," Professor Zalara said, her voice filled with pride. "Earth is a crucible, forging life into ever more resilient and intelligent forms. And humanity, as the dominant species, embodies this principle perfectly." As they prepared to leave Earth, the alien students looked back at the planet with new eyes. What they had initially seen as a hostile, deadly world, they now recognized as a complex, challenging, but ultimately nurturing environment. Earth was dangerous, yes, but it was that very danger that had shaped humanity into a species capable of reaching for the stars. The Death World had taught them not just about survival, but about the incredible potential of life itself. As their ship lifted off, leaving Earth behind, each student carried with them a newfound respect for the small blue planet and its remarkable inhabitants. They had come to study a death world, but they left with an understanding of what it truly means to be alive.